take you to one of the most haunted prisons in the States, Eastern State Penitentiary. It was once the most famous and expensive prisons in the world, but today stands in ruin with empty guard towers and crumbling cell blocks. This Gothic structure with 30-foot high walls is more intimidating during the day and becomes even more terrifying at night. Notorious criminals such as Al Capone, bank robber Willie Sutton, and murderers like James Bruno, Big Joe, and several of his male relatives were residents of this lovely Eastern State Penitentiary. In fact, Al Capone believed he saw ghosts inside his prison cell. When Al Capone arrived at Eastern State Penitentiary in 1929, this gangster received special treatment by having his cell furnished with oriental rugs, lamps, cabinet radio, fancy desk, and upholstered chair. But over the next 8 months, this violent crime boss would find no amount of jailhouse luxury that would spare him from the night terror that occurred within his cell. In fact, the guards would hear Capone screaming in fright, begging a man he called Jimmy to go away and leave him alone. When the guards checked his cell, nobody was around. It seemed that the creepy visitor named Albert Kalkacek, aka James Jimmy Clark, the second in command of Chicago's Northside Irish, was Al Capone's rival gang. There was no way Jimmy could have snuck into Capone's prison cell because Jimmy was killed 3 months earlier in the St. Valentine's Day massacre ordered by Al Capone himself. Eastern State Penitentiary is a place where untold number of prisoners died in violence and suicide, and many more succumbed to disease. The spirits, some believe, have not forgotten and therefore are haunting the walls throughout the prison. In fact, you could check out Eastern State Penitentiary and see if you could see any shadows darting across the catwalks or hear sounds of laughter and whispers as you walk down the halls in the prison cells. Just as the sun sets and the fog rolls in through the Golden Gate, a chill descends upon a tiny island. Could you hear that? Was it the moan of despair, or was it the howl of the wind? A ghost or shadow? By morning, it doesn't matter. At night, Alcatraz has a way of turning skeptics into believers. Alcatraz Island is considered one of the most haunted places in America. Its legends and stories haunt visitors who walk the hallways of the abandoned concrete building. Once originally built as a U.S. Army military defense, then later housed the most infamous criminals in America, such as Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, and Arthur Doc Barker. It is said that the reason for the haunts could be because of strip cell. Strip cell was for inmates who broke one of the prison's many rules would be punished by being sent to what was known as the strip cell. Before entering the strip cell, the prisoners would be stripped naked. The cell had no mattress, no sink, and no lights. The toilet was a hole in the ground. The criminals would be earned a stay in the dark, still room, removed from hope and humanity. It's no surprise that some of their spirits can't move on from the experience and from the Alcatraz Island itself. Another reason why Alcatraz may be haunted is because of Cell 14D. Cell 14D is haunted by a creature with glowing green eyes. 14D is one of the cells that prisoners were sent to as punishment. It is said that visitors often report feeling raw coldness encircling the room, as if more than one spirit is still present there. In 1940, a man actually died in cell 14D. The guards found him strangled on the floor of his room. Rumor has it, the night before his death, he kept screaming that a creature with glowing red eyes was trying to kill him. If that does not scare you, then go ahead and explore the cell yourself. Visitors have also frequently hear crying and moaning walking through cell block A, B, and C. There is also a wicked spirit named Butcher encountering the cell blocks as well. Butcher was assassinated in the 1940s by another inmate, Abby Maltowitz. So if you happen on visiting Alcatraz prison in San Francisco, California, then mosey along onto the tiny island of Alcatraz and see if you come across one of my lovely spirited friends. The Ohio State Reformatory is located in Manfield, Ohio. It opened its doors in 1896 as a prison for criminals too old for juvenile facilities and not hardened enough for the Ohio State Penitentiary in Columbus, Ohio. It saw thousands of prisoners during its years of operation, and while once applauded as a place that could humanely reform first-time offenders, the conditions deteriorated to the point that it became known for abuse, torture, and unlawful death. By 1930, the facility was considered uncrowded with its amazing 6-level high cell blocks, and the massive reformatory was kept open until 1986. Since the closing of the Ohio State Reformatory, stories have been circulating that the reformatory is haunted by the tormented spirits of former inmates, guards, and prison officials, or their family members who have simply never left. Let me introduce you a few of the prison's most famous ghostly residents that have haunted the Ohio State Reformatory throughout the years. Helen Gladkey. In 1949, Helen Gladkey, the wife of Arthur Gladkey, who was the prison superintendent, died unexpectedly. One day, Helen reached up to her closet shelf to retrieve her jewelry box, and a handgun fell and killed her. According to the official reports, the discharge of the gun struck Helen's left lung. She died 2 days later because of complications. Authentic ghost hunters have smelled the scent of roses, which happened to be Helen's distinctive perfume, have seen Helen walk into her bathroom. They have also smelled the fumes of cigars Arthur Gladkey habitually smoked as well. When Helen and Arthur passed, which Arthur died of a heart attack 10 years later, left their sons orphans. The Ohio State Reformatory Program Coordinator believed that Helen and Arthur are attached to this building because they raised always. Some investigators have experienced invisible hands assisting them up to the stairs at the reformatory, feeling pressure on their lower backs and arms. Another place is called The Hole, which happens to be one of the most haunted spots in the prison. 2 inmates went into solitary confinement, but only one came out. The other inmate was found dead, stuffed under the bed. Today, visitors have reported experiencing nausea and discomfort, as well as other phenomena like cold spots, the feelings of being watched, and mysteriously breathing down their necks. The boy in the basement is another eerie, ghostly visitor. The Ohio State Reformatory basement is the site of a particularly disturbing tale of a boy of 14 years being beaten to death. That 14-year-old boy has been cited with a vague sense of malicious presence that has been seen running away in fear. The Ohio State Reformatory building has not been condemned, so you can still see these ghostly sightings yourself if you dare.
Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified when we upload our new videos.